Hey guys, how are we doing? So yeah, two Dragon Ball related videos on the same day. What's that about? Crazy, isn't it? I do apologise. I'm quite tired. I am going to focus on this. I've just seen this 37 minutes. I'm like, come on, focus. But I did really enjoy the Japan Doesn't Like TN video that Playgrounds did. I thought that was awesome. And this is DBG 2. Power levels are stupid. Now, when it comes to Super, the power levels are stupid. Really stupid. The biggest example I could think of, and everyone goes on about this, and it doesn't matter regardless of whether he was holding back or not. Krillin versus Goku in Super Saiyan Blue. That shouldn't have happened. And then Android 17 being as strong as everyone, and then it's all over the place. Let's see what Playgrounds has to say about this. His power levels are stupid.
Why?
How?
I made that in like 5 hours as a joke. I drew pictures that...
No.
Whatever. I knew when I couldn't find a playlist to put that video in that this would turn into a Plague of Gripes series.
Right.
Great balls! Might have to workshop that one. Alright, you want to listen to me rail on Dragon Ball? Let's go. This isn't even 50% of my true power.
Yeah. This isn't my final form.
Power levels, they suck. If you want to complain about something in Dragon Ball, this is a good place to start.
Okay.
It's pretty foundational to most problems in the series, along with Toriyama's overall disinterest in writing. It doesn't matter if you're bitching about Caulifla getting Super Saiyan 2, the human characters getting left behind, Frieza coming back as strong as a god, or Goku not winning every fight by going blue and sneezing on enemies. A lot of it comes down to this shit. Video so long, I talk a lot. Now shut up. This isn't going to be one of those headcanon, this is all their power levels that the Daizenshus don't want you to know videos. But I'm not going to step on the power scaler community's toes either. Power levels are stupid, but they're part of the show.
Right.
So trying to break down what they should in theory be and why certain scenes may have narrative dissonance as a result, well, that makes sense.
Okay.
But I'm not Seth or Chuck or whatever have you. I'm the guy with the writer mentality, so I'm going to address it.
Fair enough.
Which is bad news for Toriyama, since he famously wrote the whole series on a monthly basis and made the whole thing up as he went along.
Wow.
No planning whatsoever.
Yeah.
So, let's talk power levels. Let's
power
kill
levels.
Trunks, hop in the plot device, create timeline split number 6. Boy, that's another video. And go back in time to the 1980s, where cocaine was king, land sharks were first sprouting from the streets of Japan.
Alright.
Yu Yu Hakusho was a glimmer in Yoshihiro's ballsack. So, in the original Dragon Ball, the concept of power levels wasn't that much of an issue. Ordinary fighters that didn't know about Ki were usually jokes, sure,
Right.
but that was the premise. It was a gag manga about baby Chinese Wukong Monkey King tilling farmland and delivering milk jugs because he tricked a bipolar supermodel bank robber into living with a registered sex offender and wearing the kind of lingerie a woman puts on when she realizes she married for money and wants a baby from the local pool boy instead. In exchange for punching lessons. It's all you gotta do to make your wish come true. Yeah.
Dragon Ball.
So for the vast majority of the front end of Dragon Ball, it was fairly lighthearted, silly, and even the fights were goofy or homages to 70s martial arts films. It wasn't until 89, when I was 7 or 8 or something, that the problem with power levels first appeared.
Right.
I was a deeply analytical child, so of course I recognized this immediately.
Straight away, yeah.
This first instance of power level creep that I can identify is Tile Pipe,
7-year-old used with no
mercenary
padlock.
towel for us godless heathens. Characters get stronger than one another prior to this, but everyone is generally in the same power range as long as they understood what Ki was. To be more specific, the problem happens when Tao defeats Goku, leaves him for dead, and Goku realizes that he isn't quote-unquote strong enough to win.
Right.
This is a phrase that seems to get translated a lot from Japanese, and it applies to basically any situation in which someone needs to improve. Even if the improvement isn't physical at all, it's often said a character needs to get stronger to confront their current obstacle.
Right.
Some of that comes down to a cultural difference of the concept of self not being cleanly defined between the physical and the non-physical, like it is here in the West. But either way, character progress is often defined in terms of strength. Goku then climbs the tower to get the MacGuffin. He's got to drink the magic plot device water. When characters in Dragon Ball are really far behind in
The
quote-unquote
plot
power,
device water, I love
and
it.
it makes no sense that they'd be able to improve to be on par with other characters, they will often be given what I'll call a power device. That's slang for a Toriyama handjob. Whether it's an old
Again.
cat, an old slug, or an old Kai, or... I guess most of them are
Why
old
is there a
men that
human
reach
witch
deep
on the
inside of young
character
boys.
sheet? Yeah.
Huh. But yes, thankfully at this point in Dragon Ball, the water isn't actually a power device. The real objective is to reach the water by getting past the Senin Karim, or Korin, whatever. It's mentioned that it took Roshi 3 years to accomplish this, and of course, it takes Goku about 3 days, because Goku is so strong.
He's amazing.
The water doesn't do anything, it's just normal water, but because Goku ran up a tower a couple times, ate some Zenzu beans, and tickled a pussy, he can now beat the clothes off Tao somewhat easily. What a 3-day weekend that was.
Great.
Now, the problem I have with this sequence isn't necessarily the time frame. Sometimes winning a fight is just a matter of mentality. A lot can change by this altering your goal of attack. Losing from being too aggressive, and then focusing on counters in the next fight.
Yeah.
You know, that sort of thing. But it's apparent with how the fight plays out, that Goku's improvement was mainly physical. Korin trained Goku physically.
Right.
It wasn't like Goku's later training of being taught to move without ringing a bell, or dodging lightning, or learning the sense ki. It was just ordinary physical training.
Just strength,
More to the point, from a narrative point of view, unlike much of the prior parts of the series, absolutely nothing has changed about the nature of how Goku fought Tao. His number just got bigger.
Oh, right, okay, I see what you mean. So he's just still fighting the
Dodonpa had
same.
a weakness, and then tried to think of a strategy to exploit it.
There's
He
nothing
didn't
clever
realize
about
Tao
it.
was faster than he was, and take steps to try to nullify that advantage. He simply got stronger.
Right.
We're told that he got better. We don't see it beyond the fact that he wins.
Right.
Now, I'm not going to list every example of this. Point being, it started early. The Tao example was capped off with Goku annihilating the entire Red Ribbon Army.
Yeah.
And Roshi declaring that Goku had gotten so powerful that he was now probably out of reach of the rest of them. Sound familiar?
Yep.
He was something like a god now. Toriyama loves to fetishize power development,
Mm-hmm.
and have characters state that they're useless compared to Goku. It's Toriyama's only idea of
Damn,
showing
we
the
can't
viewer
do
that
anything
Goku has
now.
made progress. Yet later, Roshi catches up off screen to forfeit his match with Tenshinhan. I guess they're all gods now too. Yay, godhood. Okay. Lots of power devices are used from this point on for various characters, from dodging lightning to King Kai's super gravity pebble to Gohan being man-touched into becoming the strongest character in the series by doing no training at all.
Yeah, just
It
sitting
happens
there.
a lot. Happens a lot. It became a staple of the series that characters would enter an arc in which it is established that the new enemy is a character that is stronger than
yeah.
the prior one. They don't
It's all
fight any
strength, yeah.
differently. They just have a bigger key number. But to beat the enemy,
Yeah.
Goku has to level up his stats so that his numbers are now bigger than the other guy's numbers. Usually by grinding in some new exotic location in the same way that he always
Like that,
has.
get the fuck out of
Power levels. But it isn't until specifically Z, when Toriyama thought he was bookending the series, that's why he was called Z, that power levels actually showed up. Even though Piccolo and Goku were the strongest ever, oh my god, so strong.
You can't compete with these
Raditz shows
two.
up and is stronger. But like 4 times too. The funny thing is, Raditz was
retro.
a worse fighter than either Piccolo or Goku. His techniques were not as realized, he couldn't raise his battle power or focus his ki, and he made tactical errors over and over. But his number was bigger. This shit had Piccolo asking White Jesus, will a Namek live or die? Because the Kami can't see us in the deep, dark clouds of the power level projects. This happens a lot in Z. Characters often launch attacks that they don't do anything to other characters.
Yeah.
Even if their surprise attacks are well timed, the other guy is just
Too strong, right, to do it. Yeah, yeah.
Alright, hold on.
It would be cool if there was some
Let's-
sort of tactical
let's
stuff
talk
to
about
it.
the
Yeah.
mechanics.
Although,
Of why this shit even happens in
Krillin
the
cut
series.
Frieza's
To show
tail
how
off.
dumb this is. It'll take some effort on my part, because Toriyama has not once in the series ever had a Naruto training scene where characters explain the shit that they're doing. The closest we ever got was Gohan quote-unquote training Videl.
Videl, yeah.
And the only thing he does there
My
is say,
friend at the time
"Hey,
tried to
sis."
copy this
And she's
training.
like,
I
"Nah,
was
it
so
doesn't.
dumb.
I'm holding out my hands and shit ain't happening." And then he goes, "No, it totally does. Just do it.
Just do it,
stupid."
and then you do it harder.
And then she just holds out her hands, and the key just shows up. And that's your explanation for how everything in Dragon Ball works.
Yay!
There's magic right above your pussy, and you just push it into your fucking hands, you stupid fucking ape. Fuck you! Sorry, in my personal headcanon, since Toriyama never explains anything's mechanics.
Right.
I imagine ki working sort of like a field around the characters. That glowing shit they always have.
Mm-hmm.
When they emit their body heat and the European sirens start going off, that's stated to be their ki radiating from their body. Super Saiyan wastes a lot of ki because its dumb heat siren is too loud or whatever. But the reason their clothes don't get torn up from the slightest punch from these god-tier super high kicks is because the power they're using to fight with is also covering their bodies.
Right, okay.
For example, people often complain about them using weighted clothing that only weighs a few pounds, but they can lift hojillions of pounds, right? So why does it affect them at all?
Huh.
Here's my explanation.
Huh.
Their bodies are just normal human bodies. They just know how to use ki. That's the only difference between Mr. Satan and Krillin.
Right.
Other than sex appeal, right?
Yeah.
One can use ki. They both have normal human bodies, or slug or Frigidaire bodies, or whatever.
Right.
If they don't use their ki, which Goku often doesn't when he lowers his guard all the time, they seem to be able to be injured just as easily as anyone else.
Right.
It's why you can say,
The
attempt
bullet.
to kill Goku Black with a bullet by striking when he has no reason to be using much ki.
Well, when Goku blocks
His
the
body
bullet,
isn't being protected or enhanced
it's
beyond the
super
limits of a
effective.
normal human body at that moment, so he's vulnerable to a normal attack. It also explains why Goku can be killed by the love child of Mr. Worry and Slippy Toad. He had his
the
guard
laser,
down.
right.
He wasn't utilizing his ki.
Key, right, okay.
That's how it works, in theory, since he never explained
In
it.
theory.
So, if a normal body is weighed down normally with normal weighted clothing without using ki, when they wrap their bodies in this shit, the weighted clothing will still be effective, because their ki is simply amplifying the natural state of whatever is inside of it.
Right.
Their bodies and whatever they're wearing or using. It's why their clothes don't get ripped, why weighted gi still restrict their movement, why the Ultra Super Saiyan form slows down their movements, and so on. It's the same reason why Trunks' sword can cut through Frieza, but King Cold doesn't get any effect from it at all. It's not the sword, it's the ki around the sword.
Okay, interesting.
That's how ki works, in my head, because of Toriyama. So, when it comes to characters' attacks, it's the same shit. I always imagine it sort of like a ballistics test. If you have a tank, you can't shoot it with a pistol 1,000,000 times to blow it up. That's what armor is for.
Mm-hmm.
You have to fire a shell at it that's hard enough and fast enough to actually penetrate armor and get inside where all the sweet man flesh and explosive shells are. Sorry, I got a little bit excited. It's all very sexual. It's why armor is angled, sloped, and composited, and so on. An attack has to be strong enough to get through the armor protecting someone in order to inflict any damage.
Yes.
Otherwise, it deals none at all. That's kind of how I imagine these fucking ki numbers work. The bigger your goddamn power level, the stronger a ki field you put around your body, the stronger your armor. So if a weak little dipshit throws a Kanzen at your neck, hey, who cares? Didn't
So
do
it's
nothing.
like, bam, never
It
mind.
wasn't strong enough to get through. On the flip side, characters in the show can make attacks that are stronger than they are. So if an enemy has a lot of armor, you can make a 105mm shell that you can fire that you're pretty confident can get through that big-ass power level. But the thing is, the stronger the attack you have to use, the more it tires you out. That's why characters punch and kick one another. You think, shit, if one Kamehameha does the job, just use that shit all the time.
But you
Just keep
can't.
firing those motherfuckers, right? Just keep pumping in that gas. And don't stop pumping those Kamehamehas until you're sure they're dead. But nah, it's hard work shooting marketing beams. So the goal of a fight is to just wear down your opponent with nice, safe, energy-conservative punches and kicks that are just barely strong enough to put little dents in that armor.
Right.
That'll wear down their power level, their total ki, their
The point of
stamina,
the video where I
their
realized I've been
sexual
working on it
energies,
a week and I'm
make it
still
easier
only
to get in
so.
bigger attacks later on. And if they strengthen their armor so that your punches and kicks do no damage, it actually drains their stamina over time to keep that shit up. So it's ultimately self-defeating. So, approaching this nonsense, shit, sort of like a video game. In terms of a Dragon Ball fight, your overall goal is to weaken the ki field around your opponent by forcing them to draw on their own stamina reserves.
Okay.
You can raise the effectiveness of your own armor by pumping more power into it, but the cost is exponential. So it's generally a better idea to fight at a power level that you're comfortable being at. That's why Frieza lost his first two fights with Goku, and why Goku and Gohan train to maintain Super Saiyan at a natural state. Playing keep up with this armor versus ballistic shit tires you out. It's also why characters don't take much damage until the very end of a fight when they're exhausted.
Right, yeah, when they've
because
run out
they run out of
stamina.
the energy that they use to pour into the ki they're wrapping around their bodies to protect it in the first place. You can dump a lot of ki into a single attack to take down a stronger enemy, but if it doesn't kill or severely wound the target, you probably wasted more ki than they had to use to recover from the hit in the first place. That's why Vegeta failed to do much of anything to Cell, despite surprising him, and why they had such a hard time with Boo. Both could recover from pretty much anything because of how their bodies work, and they had so much ki in reserve that you basically had to blow them up with one shot to be able to get rid of them. Trying to wear them down didn't really work unless you could just overpower them by a huge margin. Now, does that sound really stupid and convoluted? Yeah, it's almost like it's stupid. There's probably a good reason why Toriyama never explained any of this. Because if you actually try to write it out, it's apparent what a mess it is.
Yeah, it's pretty dumb.
I made myself angry talking about that to say this. When you're world building a shonen, the rules of how powers work should be incredibly evident and easy to understand and apply. More than that, if you're going to have a story about fighting,
I'm so glad that they did this.
Enemies,
I was about to say Hunter x Hunter is a really good
fight should revolve around how powers work or how moves work and how to counter them. JoJo had lots of writing problems, but it does this really well. One Piece has a small amount of power creep, but it also does this really well. Hunter x Hunter, same kind of deal, etc. If a character in your show is an evil baby that can pull unconscious enemies into a nightmare world created by the user, in which any injuries inflicted are transferred to the real-world bodies of the victim, how do you murder the baby? You don't even know it's a murderous baby. You could kill the baby in real life if you knew it was the baby and where its tiny, crushable, supple body was. But maybe you can't use your powers while you're asleep. Why not? Maybe you can think of a way around that. Maybe if you're using your power as you fall asleep, you can summon it into the nightmare to kill the proxy body of the evil clown baby so you can feed it its own feces in the waking world. Hey, it's a thought. What if you're trapped in a jail and there's a warden whose entire body is made of poison?
Right.
And he spits poison and he shits poison and also yet more poison. The jail isn't made of poison. Well, some parts might be. So you can't touch this guy. But what if there was a guy who was a living joke whose only power was that he could manufacture wax out of thin air? And even though this jail man is super strong and you can't touch his poo-poo, Wax Man could make wax around the poo-poo and also around the man who made the poo-poo. Therefore, you are safe from poison and also by proxy any fecal-based products therein. Now, in these two scenarios, if you put them in Dragon Ball Z, probably not Dragon Ball, but definitely Z,
right,
Goku would probably solve both of these situations by turning into his strongest form,
and then just blasting it,
a very big number, and then use a Kamehameha to overpower the enemy. Poison Man would get his poison blown away by the big number.
Yeah, it wouldn't be clever.
Evil Clown Dream Baby would just get overwhelmed by all the power Goku had and pass out because Goku was so strong. Wow, how compelling. What a grand adventure we're on with Goku on his quest to get a big number. Alright, point being, Dragon Ball lost its fight creativity a long time ago.
Yeah.
The value of a series that is about employing a rule set about fighting
Don't get me wrong, I love Dragon Ball, but
he's
he's
not
not
wrong.
wrong.
That you create. Early Dragon Ball did this in a playful way.
There's no kind of clever
he
tactics
just
to the fights.
Stinks. He stinks.
Get stronger.
He rubs his hands all over a sweaty ball sack and makes you smell his finger. That's his attack. Another is a psychic. He can float and control your body, but he gets really distracted with math problems. Another guy is a reverse werewolf that turns into an ugly man when he looks at the moon that Jackie Chun blew up, so he reflects light off Krillin's bald-ass head to make it look like a moon, to make him ugly again. Uglier. Debatable. Even now, with Goku fighting Beerus or Zamasu or Jiren or whomever, the actual fights have not changed since Dragon Ball. The feats you physically see are the same. No one really has done anything any more dramatic than Roshi blowing up the moon in episode 27 of Dragon Ball.
Right.
Feat strength throughout all of the series has never really changed much, because if you went past that limit, fights wouldn't make any sense visually. You couldn't draw them. It would just be panel after panel of action lines with other panels of stars and galaxies being atomized. It would be stupid. And more than that, it would be boring. We're simply told that characters are faster or stronger, or that they can't be seen by one another anymore.
Yeah, you don't
that
actually...
happens constantly to reassure the audience
My God, I
that,
can't keep
yes,
up with that
progress
movement.
is happening. And then everyone can see one another again later because I guess their eyes got better, and Toriyama needs people to commentate on how strong Goku is.
We got better
They can't do that
contact
if they can't
lenses.
see him. Otherwise, if characters aren't telling the viewer that the fight is better than the last one, we wouldn't know. Because it all looks the fucking same.
Same, yeah.
Don't worry, this punch that you've seen 1,000 times is actually the best punch
It's better than the
anyone
last
has ever
punch.
thrown. Please believe us, because this is the only value of the series. If you took what characters say about one another as law, everyone would be moving so fast that none of their brains would be able to even process it. There's something called a tiger beetle that runs so fast for its body size, it can cover 120 of its own body lengths in 1 second.
Yeah?
It's so fast that it actually has to stop running just to see where the hell it even is.
Oh, wow.
Light just becomes a smear of nonsense information if you go too fast.
Cool, yeah.
Even if it was key, they don't rely on their eyesight. They're just sensing key. Even if that's the case, there's still a limit to how fast your electricity-based brain computations can process this
Of course,
shit.
yeah.
Even if they're the fucking Flash and their powers are relativity-based, that would still mean they're fighting at the same speed they were in Dragon Ball as long as their power levels match up. Trying to convince the audience that everyone is actually so fast that they're not only flying, kicking, and firing key beams faster than sound and light, but also that these fucks are talking, fucking talking while they're doing it, faster than light.
Yeah, okay, that's a valid
Talking
point.
to one another, faster than light,
Yeah.
is the most
Oh my God.
asinine thing you could ever convince yourself to believe. And people believe it. There are fans that will argue until they're blue in the face that because power levels are in the quintillions now, that we're just seeing a slowed down version of events for our benefit.
Right, okay, but...
Which also includes them talking to one another.
So do they
these
just
fights
talk
are
really
supposed
fast
to
as well?
actually be 5 minutes long or 10 minutes long, but over the span of a whole arc is actually literally hours. Like if you just count the lines of dialogue, if you measure the amount of time that they spend just talking, it's longer than the fight could conceivably ever be. Even if it went into the negative values, it's still for our benefit. It's just that we're seeing it slow down. Fuck you. The characters are no stronger than they were in Dragon Ball. Mountains blow up at the same size, beam sizes are the same, characters vanish the same as they always have. The feats are the same because they have to be on the page. They have to be understandable enough for the reader to grasp their scope, but also just large enough to be impressive. The fights are the same.
Okay.
And you cannot impress me with this. The ceiling was hit a long time ago. You could have Goku rear back and do a fucking Kamehameha for the millionth goddamn time.
Yeah.
And he fires this shit into space. It goes past the moon to show the scale. We missed the moon back again, right?
Right.
It blows up the moon again. For the
Again.
hell of it. It goes past the
time?
sun. And the beam gets wider and eclipses the whole sun. It's bigger than the sun.
Right, okay.
This shit put Sephiroth's pussy supernova to shame. And we pan out and we see the fucking beam just lawn mowing through the whole galaxy now.
Right,
the whole
okay.
Milky Way galaxy.
It's gone quite far away now.
It's just a cone of blue keys plowing through the whole galaxy.
Okay.
And then it pans out even more. And we
It's
see the
still
whole
going.
galactic cluster, the whole local cluster. And the beam just starts exploding galaxies because it's so big.
It's so
and
big, it's so powerful.
We cut back to Goku on Earth, and it's just a cloud of dust and blue shit, and he's screaming, "Ah! Super Saiyan Ultra Deluxe 6.7 Baconator Edition. Kaioken times 4 Google Quinbillion.
Oh my god.
And it shows the fucking universal Milky Way supercluster. And the beam just, it vaporizes all of it. And it zooms out again.
Right.
And it's just white light. Because it's too zoomed out, and all you're seeing are dots of ultra clusters of galaxy. Like pixels on a computer monitor.
Okay.
And Goku is just mowing them all down because he's so strong and his number is so big.
Yeah.
And then it goes to Cell or Jiren or Demigra or Pilaf after absorbing the 7 rainbow multiverse Dragon Balls of Legend or whatever. And he's like, oh no, his power level is too big. And he vanishes. Because the big Kamehameha was the biggest. And that field of white light from before has a big black cone where the strong attack hit to kill the bad man. And Goku is back on Earth. And he wipes his brow and he gives a thumbs up to the camera. Goku,
Yeah.
I'm not impressed. That was stupid, what you did. You should be ashamed of yourself.
Oh,
Dragon Ball
poor
hit
Goku.
that ceiling a long time ago.
Right.
The feats are the same, because if Goku did that, it would be like a drunk hitting rock bottom and waking up in a gutter full of
God.
dead cats and realizing he had gone too far. The feats are the fucking same. It doesn't matter what
Oh, no.
number you attach to it to convince the audience that there has been plot escalation. Dragon Ball's power levels have not changed much at all since the very first pages of Goku shrugging off a gunshot. Goku didn't improve when he fought Tao Pai Pai. He was given an artificially created point of contention and then allowed to move past it after a scene that only existed to assure the viewer that he was making progress in his training. That's the whole point of that scene. That's how Dragon Ball is written. But why? How did this happen? How did we go from creative, fun fights to angry-faced number battles? Well, like I said before, the answer to most of this shit comes down to marketing and Toriyama's horrible writing.
Marketing. Sakura X would
Dragon Ball
back you
is
up
the
on that one.
granddaddy of shonen. So it's not like it was emulating bad behavior that was cancerous to the genre already. Toriyama manufactured this exact problem. But this problem of narrative escalation has always existed in writing. If Ahab had killed Moby Dick and then survived to Moby Dick 2, would he have had to kill an even wider whale with even more canvas-like elements, projecting his character flaws back upon him as he attempted to slay the sins handed down from Adam on down until his heart bursts again like a cannon upon the mirror of his own soul? I don't know, maybe.
Might have
If
to.
your character completes their arc and you still want to use the character, what the hell do they do?
Yeah.
Common problem. It's just that in shonen, the problem isn't non-literal. It's the physical crux of the entire setting. Shonen Jump, when Dragon Ball was being published, had been around for about 2 decades. It was established.
20 years, yeah.
And this was 1980s Japan. The United States was actually afraid that the Japanese economy would surpass them at the time. I remember hearing this shit on the news all the time whenever I was a kid. Before the Berlin Wall came down, also Challenger explosion and the Iran hostage crisis. 80s were fucked up.
A lot of bad
But in
stuff.
Japan, business was cutthroat. You needed to maintain that fucking reader count.
Damn, he's on 2
And if
phones.
your manga establishes that an old man is the strongest person in the world, the readers immediately want to know, when does Goku get stronger than the old man? Dragon Ball Super right now is desperately trying to reel in power levels. It really is. It's doing it with tiers now. They still exist, but they're trying desperately not to focus on it too much. But even now, fans are still angry that Goku hasn't gotten stronger than Beerus.
Yeah.
When's it going to happen? When's he going to beat Beerus? Jiren is the new hot shit at this moment. And people are already wanting to know, who's the strongest? Who's the strongest guy ever is going to be after that? What's the next one? What's the next strongest man? And he hasn't even fought anyone yet. Jiren hasn't even fought. And people are already wanting to know what's going to come after that. Will it be El Padre Grande? Is he secretly the real god of the universe? Can white-haired Colombian edgelord Gohan defeat this new threat? Once you kill him, do they go to another multiverse? Fans don't care. They're like dumb little kids. If you show them something, they want it. They want it now.
Yep.
Baby want now.
Oh.
And you can't step backwards. If Goku defeats the fucking devil and his reincarnation, what do you do then? Well, better go to fucking space.
Yep. Then what do you
Shonen
do?
Jump's offices,
Then what do you do?
it pressures writers to maintain this escalation, so readers will keep being interested in what's happening in the future. If you went from the Demon King Piccolo to Goku fighting bandits or something, no one's going to buy it. It's nonsense. That's part of what happened to GT, other than it being shit. They
Yeah, it
go
was
out
terrible.
into space, where supposedly Frieza was nightmarishly stronger than anyone who had ever lived. After killing his super clone Cell, and after killing Boo, the incarnation of evil itself. And there's just guys there. Guys that are stronger than that.
Yeah,
For
makes no
reason.
sense, yeah. They
Just
shouldn't be
with
there.
no explanation. Because new enemies have to be stronger. Or you lose viewers, you lose readers. In terms of writing, each new
Planet
thread
itself.
has to be entirely new and a step up in severity from the last. Other shonens get around this problem by moving horizontally. Just like a bad MMO versus a good MMO, which almost none of, the easiest way to release new content is to release stuff that's the same strength as the shit that you already have, but packaged in a completely new way. That way it's still interesting because you've never seen it, but ultimately it doesn't tip the damage scale. A bad MMO or a poorly written show fucks this up by just raising numbers, because they know people will buy it to keep up. And the thing is, even though all shonens face this problem, because of market pressure, it's still primarily Toriyama's fault. It's not like he just slipped and fell, oh, I can't help it. It's
He
still
came
his
up with the
fault.
idea, yeah.
He never needed to establish that Roshi was the world's strongest.
No.
He never needed to make it clear that the immediate cast was the only group of high-level fighters. When they went into fucking space,
That's so weird.
space, where there are infinite worlds, infinite galaxies, infinite superclusters of galaxies, Toriyama never needed to state that Frieza was the strongest person there.
Yeah, I suppose, yeah.
He took a setting that could, in theory,
Wow,
be
yeah.
literally infinite, and he reduced it to the size of a couple of cities narratively by stating that the only landmarks and power
Yeah,
were
interesting,
the ones
isn't it?
immediately visible. Stupidest thing in the world
Then they
to
had
do.
to make
and
Cell,
he
which
did
was
it
like a combination of
intentionally.
everyone's cells that'd been on
Maybe he
Earth,
should,
and
maybe
then
he should
Boo
aim
had
to
to
do
have
the stupidest
existed
thing
for
in
ages,
the
but was trapped
universe
away.
now. Oh wait, he did. With a multiverse. Now there are 12 universes, not another one. Not another one, not 2. 12.
12, yeah.
And what's the first thing he does? Gather all the strongest guys from all
Every
of them
universe.
at the same time.
Yeah.
And guess what? As a joke, almost all of them are weak, stupid-looking jobbers. Again, he narratively reduces the scope of his own setting
Wow,
and the
yeah.
internal landmarks of the characters' potential stories for no reason at all. Infinite possibilities. 12. 12 infinite possibilities.
Mhm.
And he blows his wad on the first jerk.
I suppose, yeah.
I harp on this all the time. For those of you that don't know. When you're world building, there's 2 things you don't want to do. 1, do not state the scope or limits of your setting. That is, don't set your story universe on one island and mention there's nothing beyond it. This is the only island.
Right, yeah, because then...
Don't introduce that the bad guys are 4 gods that created your entire setting and are stronger than anyone, and then kill them off in the first story. And 2, do not limit the potential diversity of anything you introduce in your setting. So don't introduce a race of crocodile people or whatever and say they all have a specific green color skin, they all have yellow eyes, and they all dress the exact same clothing, and they all act and believe the same things. It's a fantasy world, and you're obliterating its potential magic of discovery
could,
and restricting
have so
narrative
much more to
potential
it, yeah.
for absolutely no reason other than you are fetishizing a particular element of it. And that's exactly what Toriyama's problem is. He loves the idea of someone being the strongest in the world, the strongest in the universe, the strongest in the multiverse. Why?
It ruins the scope
Because
of it, yeah.
it's a lazy, easy way to make it clear the stakes are as high as they could ever get, and when you win, it's a huge victory. He fetishized that so much throughout his entire career that it has poisoned every element of not only his own series, but other series as well that came afterwards. That's why power levels suck.
There we go.
Only exist to assure the viewer that what they're seeing is a better version of the exact same thing
They've already seen.
that they already saw.
Right.
You replace creativity with the lie of progress. It's vertical progression rather than horizontal. It's being given a video game sword with a higher damage number. It has the same animations. It changes nothing about your personal agency as a player. It just has a bigger number. Toriyama is not creative when it comes to power sets.
You may have been
Powers are
Diner,
almost
buddy.
always physical, straightforward, and don't require any level of thought to understand. Most are just balls of light in different colors, which is funny for a colorless manga. I think if you threw a single JoJo stand user into Dragon Ball, or hell, a psychic with their own territory from Yu Yu Hakusho into Dragon Ball, or the fucking Death Note, Goku and everyone else would be dead within a week for how stupid they all are.
Yeah.
And how dumb their movesets all are. So why make this video? I don't monetize this shit unless Toei claims it and seizes it. This could get 500,000 views or 5,000, and I would not care.
Right.
I make my living off Patreon. Who cares? I bring this up mainly because I get fucking tired of people bitching about power levels. How come Krillin can hold back Goku's Kamehameha? Why would Roshi make Frost dodge? He should just be able to just take the punches. Why is 17 so strong all of a sudden?
There we go.
How come children could be born as strong as a super... Oh, wait, that's Z, so that gets a free pass, doesn't it? It doesn't matter.
No.
Roshi being outclassed in power, but managing to beat people with creativity is exactly what Dragon Ball should be.
It needs it, yeah.
Do not complain about it. Don't fetishize Z, or for God's sakes GT, and say it did it better. When you compliment or ignore the writing problems Toriyama created, you're also undermining the hard work better writers put into their own work. Don't be that guy. Don't be an enabler and pussyfoot away from pointing out that Super is doing this shit again with Jiren. Just look at it for what it is. It's okay to like something, but acknowledge its shitty writing. This is just entertainment.
Dragon Ball's dumb, but it's enjoyable.
Toriyama is a terrible writer.
Don't think too much into it.
His strengths are gags, drawing poo-poo on sticks, and general whimsy. Don't do things like pretend that the Cell games were well written, when it was an abomination of artificially created tension.
Damn.
That's yet another video. But I don't blame
We have no matter.
Like I said at the start, power levels are a part of Dragon Ball. Just like racism is a part of your Uncle Joey. You have to address things for what they are, not what they should be. Does Super's power scaling make any sense for how Z was written? No, it is not internally consistent. Everyone in the series should be completely useless, and so far behind it's impossible for them to catch up.
Yep.
But that would be a horrible story if some fans actually got their way. If your setting is that toxic, change your setting. I don't care if it's internally inconsistent with the cancer that Toriyama infected the series with. I don't care if your Uncle Joey doesn't want to go to Subway because an Indian family runs it. He can fuck off, because it's the least valuable component to your experience. Power levels are a narrative crutch, and nothing else. The feat strength has remained generally the same since Dragon Ball. Nothing has changed. When Super or anything else ignores power levels, yes, acknowledge it. But also realize your Uncle Joey is a stupid bitch.
Wow.
And if Uncle Joey doesn't like Roshi, he can fuck out to Fazoli's.
Fair enough. Got very descriptive at one point. I was like, wow, we're talking about tags now. But very, very valid points there. But that's the thing though, people go crazy about it. I like Dragon Ball. I enjoy it. But I also realise it's very, very dumb. It's like, come on. And people always go too far into thinking what's going to happen next. And it's like, come on, it's predictable. You don't need to think too much about it. Just enjoy it. Oh, God. Anyway. Oh, I'm tired. Thank you very much for watching. I need my bed. What do you guys think of that? What do you guys think of this? Click like, subscribe if you haven't already, leave comments down below. Let me know what I should watch and discuss in future videos. I'll see you guys. It's all you guys. Next time. Bye.